those doors. We're standing by for the leaders to emerge from that council session, and we'll bring you the outcome the moment it happens. To break all this down, we have Hussein Iptikin, a professor of international relations at the National Defense University, and Mustafa Caner, who's an assistant professor at Sakarya University's Middle East Institute. Gentlemen, welcome to the both of you. I want to begin with what we have in our hands. The joint presser by Mark Rutte and President Donald Trump. The U.S. president said essentially the memorandum of understanding with Iran is over. Hussein, let me ask you, this comment coming during a summit that's being hosted by Turkey, does it kind of put a sour note to all this?
I think what Iran did in the Strait, I think it helped Rutte in some sense, because it was a very serious test for the NATO. All these countries trying to agree on the spending limits, and some countries are dragging the process. And even for the summit now, we saw Trump very harsh on Spain. We saw Israel and Turkey debates being asked to Trump in the press conferences. We saw Greece complaining about Turkey. So for Iran, it was time to sit back and watch and just, see it crumble. But what Iran did was just to push them all together. It is perfect, in a perfect bad timing in that sense. Trump is in Turkey right next to Iran. This is the time of summit. It was horrible timing for Iran. But somehow I understand it, because I think Iran thinks that, so after the midterms, America will go after them with full force, with full pressure. And I think Iran is trying to control escalation right now. So America is more moderate in a way, because they are doing more like a tit for tat. They are just reacting to the Iranian attacks in a more limited way. But the long-term repercussions for this attack, I think it will kind of save Rutte, because he kind of changed the center of attention from all these internal disputes in the NATO summit to the Iranian aggression with this incident. And it helped Rutte to frame a whole new debate.
Mustafa Caner, let me turn to you. Hussein Iptikin said this is kind of helping, it plays to the hand of Rutte. Yeah. The question I want to ask you is, does it play into the hand of President Erdogan? And here's why, because you have written about Turkey's capacity to de-escalate regional conflicts before. Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering, because of this, this opens perhaps a new door of opportunity for President Erdogan.
Yeah, I will get to this in a minute, but let me give you a little bit context.
Sure.
Because since this MOU was signed on June 17, there have been minor violations, but these violations faced with a measured and proportioned U.S. response. But yesterday's attacks by Iran actually triggered a very harsh U.S. response. It may be these yesterday's attacks by Iran could be the last straw. As President Donald Trump said, he doesn't want any deal with Iran anymore, and to him, the MOU is over. Maybe he won't retract his position on the discourse level, but maybe in action, technical teams will resume negotiations. Let's keep it that. And another dimension that there were some elements inside Iranian establishment which were very, dissatisfied with this MOU. They were unhappy because they were thinking that they are giving away the only deterrence tool, which is Strait of Hormuz, unilateral control over the Strait of Hormuz. So they are giving it away. That's why some of them might try to sabotage this MOU by, triggering some, escalatory dynamics over the Strait of Hormuz. Because if I wanted to sabotage this MOU, I wouldn't think any better and suitable place and time than NATO Ankara Summit.
True.
So, yes, it may open some doors for new kinds of negotiations and diplomacy by different actors, Turkey included, but it may also cause an uncontrollable escalation over the strait, because just I mentioned just before, just a minute ago, the response by the United States was very harsh, and I think it goes on. They are bombing Bushehr, which is a strategic town of Iran, and we are not sure about how this is going forward, and really maybe in a very short period of time we could go back into the full-scale war. So I think this is really dangerous position for both sides.
For you, you said the tipping point could be the midterm elections. I mean, do you categorize what's happened, the comments by President Trump, as a real strategic shift, or is this the type of rhetorical escalation that we've seen before that doesn't necessarily lead to full-out war?
I think Trump really wanted this crisis to cool down up until the midterm elections. And Iran, I think, sees the situation in a more realistic way. They are waiting for the midterms too. And after the midterms, because let's be honest, there is no serious expectation for a final resolution for this tension. The Israeli aggression is going on and off, mostly on. On the other hand, Iran has now all the reasons to increase its ambitions for nuclear weapons. And all this Middle Eastern security dynamics, the Gulf security, it's all going down. So with this new fragile situation, there's no easy way for America and Iran to sit down and finalize a formal peace treaty. That's almost an impossible project. So what's happening now up until the midterms, just cooling down the waters and gaining time. And with the electoral victory, then Trump might come back and go after Iran with even a more fuller pressure. And I think Iran is seeing the situation in that angle, and they are trying to use this fragile moment to their advantage.
You have the 32 member states of NATO here in the Turkish capital. You also have 4 countries from the Indo-Pacific region, but you also have the Gulf states.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you're Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, you're sitting and you're watching this memorandum of understanding, this ceasefire potentially collapse. What are you thinking?
Actually, the Istanbul Cooperation Initiative is here to find possible ways to end this conflict diplomatically, because Gulf countries, they have been attacked by Iran seriously, very harshly, and these attacks disrupted their trade, their security, their, demographic situation so bad. And they want to, resolve this conflict as soon as possible. And NATO Summit was one of the best opportunities to do that. As you know, Istanbul Cooperation Initiative was established like 22 years ago. But today, there is a chance that it could be functional in the sense that, finding a solution, a diplomatic solution, or the escalation to this escalatory current. But I think they are very unhappy right now. They, weren't expecting this during this NATO summit, because the MOU in the first place openly, clearly was in favor of Iran. Iran was getting sanction lifted, at least $300 billion of fund. Their frozen assets will be frozen, etc., etc. So they were actually going to get a lot of money, and they were going to able to spend this money as they wish.
Yeah.
So nobody was expecting this. The only thing that they had to do was, giving away this unilateral control, and that unilateral control was against the international law in the first place. Nobody accepts Iran's unilateral control over the strait because it's against international law, maritime trade, etc. So I think they are very unhappy, and distress right now.
All right, gentlemen, great speaking with you, Hussein Aptekin and Mustafa Caner. Pleasure having you on our continuing coverage here from the nation's capital. Adnan, we're still waiting for the doors to open of the council meeting. We'll see what the final communique will look like. President Trump still has two important meetings, one with Zelensky and one with the Syrian president. Also pressers, important pressers by President Erdogan and the NATO Secretary General still to come later this afternoon. But for now, back over to you.
Okay.